Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lysha and I'm the owner of Lysha Be Creative. In today's video, we're going to do some really fun Hydrodip tumblers. I can't wait to show you guys all the different colors that I was able to use to put these together. And of course, you guys know that all of the links that I use for today's products will be in the description box, as well as any discount codes that I have for you to save you a little bit of extra money. Before you go, don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial. Okay, so we are starting off with 20-ounce sublimation tumblers. So I've used these before and I'm gonna go ahead and get this prepped. So sublimation tumblers come with that glossy coating over top and usually on a white base. I'm gonna go ahead and sand this really well. And then after I've done that, I've cleaned it off, and then we're gonna go ahead and spray paint this cup with the colorshot mermaid color. So once I've done that, we will go into, of course, glittering. And so I did also prep additional cups that were going to be hydro dipping, and I'm going to show you, but I didn't include those in the video since it would be super repetitious of me to show you those clips with just the different glitter colors that I'm using. I will though list this glitter color, which is Peacock, as well as all the other glitters that I did use on the other cups that I'll show you in the very next clip after we're done glittering. So we're going to do a thin layer of Mod Podge. That's going to be just my adhesive of choice. Of course, the option is always fine to use epoxy method or another adhesive that you have and love. And so I'm just going to get a nice coat of this glue on here rather, and then we're going to pour our glitter on top of here. So I did only do one coat of glitter on top of each of the cups. That was kind of all I needed, especially because I did have each of the cups base painted. So I was able to get away with just one coat of glitter. And since we're going to be hydro dipping the majority of the cup anyway, we really won't have an issue with, seeing anything super egregious as far as bald spots or anything, because I did make sure that that one coat of glitter really did cover everything. So after that was done, I let that dry, put these on the turner for a couple coats of epoxy until smooth. Of course, I'm using Flint Sisters Fast Cure. And so I'm going to go ahead and do my regular sanding routine here. And once I'm done with my sanding routine and I've cleaned everything off, I'm now going to proceed to tape off my tumblers. So I'm taping these off in various designs. Nothing really specific, but I really wanted to try a hydro dip look with sort of some taped off sections that would still expose this beautiful glitter underneath. So I did a V-split, I did like one that has just the center section covered, I did a slant, and then I actually am also going to show you guys another just hydro dipped cup that I did that is just on a black spray painted surface with a coat of epoxy. So once I am ready to go, of course we're outside now, I have just a clear bin that I picked up from Walmart. A bucket will do, whatever you have that is going to be the depth of your cup. I then have filled that bucket up to make sure that it would reach the top of my cup if I was to submerge my cup standing upright. And then now we can go ahead into getting into adding our colors. So I'm starting with the Peacock blue color that we use, and I just showed you all of the marabu inks that I have. So you can of course use spray paint, and I have showed you guys spray paint hydro dips before, but we're going to do these marabu inks because I got a fantastic deal a while ago on these inks for really cheap, and so I really want to use these for hydro dip because I have seen some really amazing projects done with these, and so I wanted to try my hand at them for some glitter tumblers. So of course I will list all of the different colors that I'm using for each of the cups. I have a lot of colors that we're going to be using today, and I will be completely honest, I definitely am not going to remember all of them. But what I will say, and I will walk you through each of the cups that we're going to hydro dip today, is that literally all you're going to do is kind of just dab or really drip drop all of that paint in various ways into your water. So this acts as sort of like your spray paint wheel. It's going to create sort of this like film of colorant over top of the water, and that's what you're going to dip your cup into. So you're going to actually watch me fail at this first initial hydro dip because we are going to come back and remove the hydro dip off of this one and redo it because I wasn't really satisfied with how this one came out, but I kind of like to dip at an angle and then swirl around. That way I can get the most colorant as possible visible on top of these. So we're going to come back to that one, but let's go ahead and move on to the yellow cup here, which was that V-split. So for this one, I went with sort of a neon vibe. So I did some neon orange, and then I did a rose pink in here as well. I had a neon pink, but I was struggling to really shake that up because these do settle after time if you leave them, you know, and you don't use them for a while. And so I had a little bit of issue getting the hot pink one to come out, so I just switched to rose. So I dip my cup in at an angle. Really, my goal here, of course, is to try and get as much of that marabu ink paint on top of my glittered surface, and so that's kind of my focus here. Once I'm done with each of the hydro dips, I do just stick my gloved hand in there and just kind of scoop out all of the colorants from the hydro dip beforehand to clear that water so that I can get ready for the next dip. So for this one, we're doing this over the glittered pink colored cup that we have here. And so I'm going with sort of like this purple vibe. What I love about the inks that I did get, the marabu hydro dipping colors that I got, I really love that you can even get these in glitter. So I added a little bit of one of the glittered inks to this dip, as well as a couple of the other ones that you're going to see as I continue to go through. But I really love the beautiful sparkle and shine and sheen that this puts on the cup. It just looks so beautiful. The pink one was definitely one of my favorite ones that I did out of this entire batch. So we're going to go in now with our purple glittered one. And so for this one, I decided to go with like a mermaid vibe. I was kind of just getting like a really kind of, you know, mermaid vibe-esque look that I was thinking of for this one. So we're going to do a little bit of teal, a little bit of the rose pink, and I am going to throw a little bit of that glitter, that iridescent ink in there as well. And then we're going to go ahead and get this slanted purple cup, go ahead and dip that one into this bucket of water here. Again, I like to start with my cup kind of going down at an angle, and then I swirl in that 45-degree angle. That way I can make sure I'm getting most of the paint on the actual glittered section, which is the intention. We don't really care whatever gets on that tape because that section is going to be completely removed. So set that one aside. Then we can get into our next two. So we're going to go back to this blue glittered one. I was not thrilled with how this one came out. So I ended up taking a bit of acetone and a paper towel and just cleaning off all of that ink that was originally on there from our first dip. And that's the one good thing that's really awesome about when you're doing these hydro dips is you don't have to worry about, you know, starting over. Don't be afraid to start over. You really can easily just wipe that off. It's just like spray paint. Get some acetone and a paper towel, especially if you're going to do this over an epoxied surface already. And you can just wipe that off and try again. So it was really easy and simple to be able to clean that original hydro dip off and then go in with a second batch of colors that I definitely was more satisfied with how these came out. So we went with a little bit more of a darker vibe. I added white as my base, and then I'm adding sort of like a deep denim blue, as well as like a slate gray and just a touch of silver here. I didn't do any additional glitter on this one because I felt like those colors together really were pretty enough. But I'm much more satisfied with how this one came out than the original dip that we did on this cup. So the final cup is the solid black cup that I had just spray painted and epoxied over. So I'm going in with that white base again, going back in with that slate gray, almost charcoal color. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this blue. So the blue is only really going to show up on top of those white sections. You're not really going to see it through the black, but once you look at like the white hydro dipped area, you can see a lot of that blue swirl, which I really love. So I really was satisfied with how this one came out. This one was not completely taped off, like it was completely clear and free of tape, but I really love how that one came out. So we are back inside. We have let these, of course, dry completely. And now we're just going to go ahead and remove all of the tape. So I'm just using my craft knife just to make sure that when I remove the tape, I don't accidentally remove any of the, you know, hydro dip swirl that we spent all that time creating in the bucket of water. But actually, you didn't really have to do this. So this was actually the only cup that I used my craft knife to kind of trim around the tape to make sure that I didn't, you know, remove any of that beautiful colorant when I was removing the tape, but I actually didn't need to. The paint is really thin enough that it's not going to, you know, kind of come off in a full sheet. It's not super thick, so you actually don't have to worry about that. But of course, I'm not going to make you watch this entire process, but this is kind of what I did after everything dried. You do want to make sure that everything is dry. It will still feel sticky because of course it does resemble like a spray paint. It's going to feel a little bit sticky until it's dried for quite a few hours. But you should be able to very easily remove all of the tape pretty simply. I'm also going to clean up the top rim. We will sand this after a coat of epoxy, but I do want to sand up any of the ink or whatever that might have gotten, over the top rim of this cup. So just kind of speeding up this process here to just show you guys me removing all of the tape, cleaning up the rim, and then I'm going to go ahead and take some acetone and a paper towel, and we're going to get the inside of these cups cleaned out as well. So of course, that is kind of the one thing you do have to make sure you're doing is you're going to want to spend a little bit more time, and probably more time than you would for our regular, glittered and epoxy tumbler. You're going to spend a little bit more time cleaning out the inside of these cups. I suppose you could put like tape on the inside of here, but because I submerged these completely underwater, you're kind of bound to get those bits of, inks and things inside the inner portion of the cup. So just take your time and clean that out with a little bit of acetone and just your traditional, inside cleaning that you would normally do before you send a cup out. So this is also where I'm going to take the time to clean up any of the Hydrodip areas that I'm not super satisfied with. So if there's any sections where the ink got under the tape line, or if there was anything that just didn't really sit right with me, didn't look the way I really envisioned it to look, I just cleaned up any of those foggy sections and cleaned up the inside of these cups and kind of just made sure that everything looked the way I wanted it to, because of course at this point in time, the next thing I'm going to do is these are going to all go back onto the turner, and we're going to go ahead and get these under epoxy for another coat of epoxy to get these all sealed. That way we don't have to worry about us accidentally damaging the Hydrodip we spent so much time creating in those buckets of water. So we're going to go ahead and get these all back on the turner, and then we're going to do sort of the final part of this, which is just going to really be our final sanding, of course, just to make sure we get really good a really good stainless steel line around the top, and then we're going to do some washi tape lines. So these are meant to be teacher appreciation gifts for my children's teachers this year, and so I am going to be adding the teachers' names, but because I don't have a couple of the names quite yet, because my oldest son is in middle school, and so his teachers I don't necessarily know like I know my other son's teachers, but I will end up putting either a cute decal, teacher themed decal in sort of the open section of most of these cups, or just simply personalizing it with their name. I haven't yet 100% decided, but I did decide to kind of use a little bit of this metallic pastel washi tape that I got from Hobby Lobby to just sort of establish the separation from the Hydrodip sections from the solid glittered sections. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the different metallic washi tapes for each of these cups. I will link the washi tape that I used for these in the description box. It's like the same pack that I get every time I go to Hobby Lobby. I swear I have so many of these little rolls of washi tape. It's not even funny, but I really love washi tape because it really does beat having to get into Cricut Design Space and make all of those vinyl lines. I just love being able to use washi tape, obviously, as an alternative. So once I get everything sort of lined up the way I want it to, I've gotten all of my washi tape lines on. The final thing that I will do before, of course, I do my next coat of epoxy and add my final name decals is I will coat these in a little bit of polyacrylic. So Minwax polyacrylic, of course, is my go-to. I love to use the Minwax polyacrylic to seal my washi tapes, which tend to do a bit of lifting if I don't do this step under my coats of epoxy. And so I don't want to run into any of those issues, so I will just use a gloved hand and a very, very, very minimal amount of that polyacrylic just right over that washi tape section. Let those dry for about 30 to 40 minutes entirely, and then put these back on the turner for final coats of epoxy. So this was not a super long tutorial, of course, but I do hope that this was a fun one. If you have not yet had an opportunity to try the Easy Marble Marabu inks before, I definitely encourage you to go grab some. I know that you can grab them up at like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I've seen them quite a bit. There's a lot of different vendors, one of which I will list in the description box as well, that I got mine from that you might want to try out as well. But if you love to hydrodip or you've been wanting to get into hydrodip, I definitely encourage you to try this out. So much fun, so simple. Play with it, have fun. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. So easy to simply get off and start again. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, of course, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you'd love to see on my channel. And of course, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So that's it for me, guys. And you guys know that I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!